Hello students, today we will be starting with a new chapter. The new chapter name is Kings, Farmers and Towns, and this chapter is present in the History Part 1 book of class 12, and today we will be understanding about the Kings, Farmers and Towns. Here we will be studying about Janapadas and Mahajanapadas and the Maghada itself. You see, Mahajanapadas, Janapadas and Maghada, these are very important topic in the history book of class 12, and today we will be understanding about this. Here, the Mahajanapadas. Now, what do you mean by the Mahajanapadas? First, we will be understanding about Janapadas. You see, if I talk here about the word Janapadas, if we talk about the word Janapadas, which means the people who have set their foot on the land, which means the first people who have set their foot on the land are comprised to be as the Janapadas. So here came the Mahajanapadas, which means more population, more people will be coming Mahajanapadas. Now, the 6th century was a major turning point in the early Indian history. It is an era associated with early cities, the growing use of iron, the development of coinage, etc. It also witnessed the growth of diverse system of thought, including Buddhism and Jainism. Now, if I talk about the 6th century, the 6th century was a turning point. Why it was a turning point? You see, during that time, that era was associated with early cities, early towns. Yes, there was the establishment of early cities, early towns. Also, on the other hand, there was the development of coinage as well. Development of coinage, which means a new currency was setting up. Also, it witnessed the growth of diverse system. Now, what was the growth of the diverse system? What kind of diverse system was coming during that time? Yes, the Buddhism and the Jainism. First comes the development of the coinage, first comes the development of towns and cities, and then comes the Buddhism and the Jainism. Their ideas of Buddhism and Jainism came into existence during the 6th century. Early Buddhist and Jaina texts mention the 16 states such as Mahajanapadas, although the list varies. Some names such as Vaji, Maghada, Koshala, Kuru, Panchala, Gandhara and Avanti occur frequently. Clearly, these are among the important Mahajanapadas. Now here, if I talk about the Mahajanapadas, Mahajanapadas was mostly described or mentioned in the Buddhist and Jaina texts. Yes, they were mostly described in the Buddhist and Jaina texts. Also, on the other hand, there are important Mahajanapadas. Now, what are the important Mahajanas that have been established here? Comes the Bhaji, Maghada, Koshala, Kuru, Panchala, Gandhara and Avanti. They are the important Mahajanapadas. Also, on the other hand, while most Mahajanapadas were ruled by kings, some known as the Ganas and Sanghas were oligarchies where power was shared by a number of men, often collectively called Rajas. Both Mahavira and Buddha belong to such Ganas. Now, mostly if I talk about the Mahajanapadas, Mahajanapadas were ruled by the kings itself. They were ruled by the kings itself, and those kings were known as Ganas or Sanghas. The kings were known as Ganas or Sanghas, and on the other hand, they were oligarchies where power was shared by number of men. Now, what do you mean by oligarchies? Oligarchies means when the power is shared by the number of men or multiple men, they are termed as oligarchies, which means the oligarchy power was mostly common in the Mahajanapada. Also, on the other hand, they were collectively called Rajas. Both Mahavira and Buddha belong to such Ganas. Now, both Mahavira and Buddha belong to such Ganas. In some instances, in the case of Bhaji Sangha, the Rajas probably controlled resources such as land collectively. Although their histories are often difficult to reconstruct, some states lasted for nearly 1,000 years. Now, in some instances, in the case of Bhaji Sangha, the Rajas probably controlled all the resources. Now, according to the cases of the Bhaji Sangha, most of the resources, it has been written here that most of the resources were being controlled by the Ganas itself or by the Rajas itself. Also, on the other hand, although their histories were often difficult to reconstruct, you see much of the information is not there regarding the Mahajanapadas, regarding the kings of the Mahajanapadas or regarding the Ganas. But some states lasted for 1,000 years. Yes, under the Mahajanapadas, some states were there which only lasted for 1,000 years. You can say a century. Each Mahajanapada had a capital city. Yes, each Mahajanapada had a capital city which was often fortified, maintaining these fortified cities as well, providing for incipient armies and bureaucracies required resources. Now, if I talk about the Mahajanapada, each Mahajanapada had its own capital. They had their own capital cities. Also, on the other hand, there were fortified cities as well. They had fortified cities, which means constructed cities along with the armies. Yes, they were being protected by the armies during that time. They had so much resources as well which were being controlled by the Gana itself. So here we have understood about the Mahajanapadas, the Ganas, the Rajas, or or say Sanghas. Yes, the Ganas or the Sanghas you can say here, the Rajas as well, and also about the fortified cities which were being protected by the armies. Again, from 6th century BCE onwards, Brahmanas began composing Sanskrit texts known as the Dharma Sutras. Yes, from 6th century BCE. From 6th century BCE, the Sanskrit text came into existence. The Sanskrit text came into existence known as Dharma Shastras. Those Dharma Shastras, sorry, Dharma Sutras. I'm so sorry, Dharma Sutras. From the 16th century BCE, Dharma Sutras came into existence. They are comprised to be as the Sanskrit texts. Those Sanskrit texts came into existence, the Dharma Sutras, during the 6th century BCE. This laid down norms for rulers who were ideally to be expected Kshatriyas. Rulers were advised to collect taxes and tributes for cultivators, traders, and artisans. Yes, they were ideally being controlled by the Kshatriyas itself. You see, the rulers were advised to collect taxes. The rulers were advised to collect taxes and tribute from the cultivators, traders, and artisans. Now, if I talk about the rulers here, the rulers used to collect taxes. From whom they used to collect taxes? From the cultivators, from the traders, from the artisans, from the labor of as well. They used to collect the taxes. Gradually, some states acquired standing armies and maintaining regular bureaucracy. Others continued to depend on military recruited more than the peasantry. Now, some states acquired standing armies. Some states acquired standing armies and maintained regular bureaucracies. Yes, they had standing armies and they had regular bureaucracies. Bureaucracies means every resources that were being controlled by the state itself. Yes, those resources were being controlled by the state. This is known as bureaucracy. Also, they have continued to depend on military recruited other than the peasantry. Now, most of the resources were, most of the kings were dependent on the military itself. Yes, they were dependent on the military. Also, on the other hand, most of the military were being recruited in comparison to the peasantry. Yes, military was the most important element during that time. Also, on the other hand, if I talk about the Janapadas, here the meaning of the Janapadas I have written, meaning the land where people or clans set its foot or settled, which means the Janapadas, which means those people who have settled on a particular land, who have set its foot on a particular land are known as Janapadas. So here you have understood about the militia that were recruited more than the peasantry. Also, on the other hand, we have understood about the Sanskrit texts, the Sanskrit texts which are known as Dharma Sutras that came into existence during the 6th centuries. Also, most of the rules and regulations in the Dharma Sutras were being implemented for the Kshatriyas. Yes, the Kshatriyas are known to be the part of the military. They are known to be the military or the people who protect their own country. They are the Kshatriyas. And here it is written about the rulers who are being advised to collect taxes from the cultivator, traders, and artisans. You see, there during that time also the tax system was prevalent. Here you see the Mahajanapadas. Here you will be understanding about the different Mahajanapadas on the particular map. This is the map of India where the Mahajanapadas are being located. First comes here the Magadha. You see, during that time, Magadha was the most important Mahajanapada, and here it is the capital city, Rajghala. Kaushala is there, Panchala is there, Kuru is there. Also, on the other hand, you can see other Mahajanapadas. Vatsa is there, Kashi is there. Also, here you can see Gandhara is there, Kamboja is there. There are much of the Mahajanapadas that we are being here located on the map. Also, Avanti is there. You can see here Avanti. Vrija is there. Mala is there. So, this is the map of the Mahajanapadas. This is the map of the Mahajanapadas that are being located. I hope so you have saw the map very clearly. And here the Magadha map. The Magadha map, Rajghala, is in the quite in the northeast side of India. Not the northeast side, quite as a part of the northeast side of India, you can say. Here you can see the map of the Mahajanapadas. I hope so this is clear to you. And here it is another map of the 16 Mahajanapadas. Here you see the 16 Mahajanapadas are very much clear on this map. Here you can see Magadha very clearly. Kashi is there, Koshala is there, Surasena, Vatsa, Avanti, Chedi is there. Also Kamboja is there, Gandhara is there. Anga is there, Vrija is there, Ashmaka is there. So this is the clear map of the 16 Mahajanapadas. There are total 16 Mahajanapadas, but the main Mahajanapadas are actually being located on this particular map. I hope so clear. You are clear regarding the map. Now we will be understanding about Magadha. You see, between the 6th and 4th centuries BCE, Magadha became the most powerful Mahajanapada. Modern historians explain this development in a variety of ways. Now, during the 4th and the 6th centuries, only Magadha came into existence during that time, and it was the most powerful Mahajanapada. Yes, it was the most powerful Mahajanapada during the 6th and the 4th centuries BCE. Also, on the other hand, it has explained the development in a variety of ways. Magadha was developing during the 4th and the 6th century BCE. Also, on the other hand, Magadha was a region where agriculture was productive. Beside iron mines were made accessible and provided resources for tools and weapons, elephants are an important component of the army. Now, during that time, agriculture was very much prevalent. Yes, agriculture was very famous in the Magadha, okay, in the parts of Magadha itself. Also, on the other hand, iron mines were there. Iron mines were accessible. You see, iron mines were accessible. It was, Magadha is quite around Jharkhand. It is quite around Jharkhand. So, as a result, iron mines were excavated during that time, or you can say it was being mined during that time. So, much of the iron mines were being accessible for tools and for other weapons. Iron was very much compulsory. Also, on the other hand, elephant was the most important component. Yes, it was the important component of the army. Also, the Ganga and its tributary provide a means of cheap and convenient communication. You see, during that time there was no trains, there was no airplanes. So Ganga was a part of communication. It was the way of communication where the people moved to other states with the help of the Ganga river itself, which means it was the easy way of communication. Also, however, early Buddhist and Jaina writers who wrote about Magadha attributed its power to the policies of the individual ruthlessly ambitious kings of Bimbisara, Ajatasattu and Mahapadma Nanda are the best known, and their ministers who helped implement their policies. Now, if I talk about the Buddhist and Jaina writers, the Buddhist and Jaina writers has wrote about the Magadha. They have wrote a lot about the Magadha and its power. Also, as a result, if I talk about the powers of the Magadha, which means the powers of the Ganas and the Sanghas, you can say the kings of the Magadha, here the ambitious kings also came into existence. Now, Bimbisara was the son of Chandragupta Maurya. Yes, he was the son of Chandragupta Maurya. Bimbisara is there, Ajasattu is there, and Mahapadma Nanda is there. So they are all the part of the Mauryan dynasty. But here Ajasattu is there. Ajasattu, he was the part of the Nanda dynasty. Not Mahapadma. I'm so sorry. Here comes the Bimbisara. Bimbisara was the son of the Chandragupta Maurya. He was the son of the Chandragupta Maurya. Ajatasattu is there, and Mahapadma Nanda. Here Bimbisara and Ajatasattu, they are the part of the Mauryan dynasty, and Mahapadma Nanda was the part of the Nanda dynasty. Are the best known, and their minister who helped implement their policies. So most of the policies were being implemented by the Mauryan dynasty and the Nanda dynasty during the Magadha period, or you can say on the parts of the Magadha. You see, the Magadha was once under the empire of the Mauryan dynasty. Before it was the part of the Nanda dynasty. Initially, Rajagara was the capital of Magadha. Very, very important, Rajagara was the capital of Magadha. Rajagara was the capital of Magadha. Rajagara, the old name suggests house of the king. Rajagara was the fortified settlement amongst hills. Later in the 4th century BCE, the capital was shifted to Pataliputra. Now, if I talk about Rajagara, Rajagara was the capital of Magadha, but slowly it was shifted to the capital of Pataliputra. Yes, the capital of Magadha now came to be known as the Pataliputra. So, Pataliputra is the ancient town. Present day Patna, commanding routes of communication along the Ganga. Here you see what we have studied about the 6th and 4th century. During the 6th and 4th century itself, only Magadha came into existence, and most of the development was being created during that time. Also, on the other hand, Magadha was very much a region of agriculture. It was the very much region of agriculture, and the iron mines was also being accessible to all the people for tools and weapons. An elephant was the important component of the army. Here comes the early Buddhist and Jaina writers. The early Buddhist and Jaina writers here contributed a lot about the Magadha powers, and Magadha was under the Mauryan dynasty as well, and under the Nanda dynasty as well. And during that time, Rajagara was the capital of Magadha. Rajagara was the capital of Magadha, and the capital was shifted. The capital was shifted to Patliputra during that time. Here, we will be discussing about the inscriptions here. So what are the inscriptions? Inscriptions are the writing on hard surfaces. I have already told you about the inscriptions before. So the inscriptions were the writing on hard surfaces. They are the writing on hard surfaces such as stones, metal or pottery. Yes, on stones, metal and pottery, the inscriptions are mostly common, and here they usually record the achievements, activities or idea who commissioned them, and include the exploits of the kings or donation made by the women, men or to the religious institution. You see here, if I talk about the inscription, what are written in the inscription? On the inscription, there have been written about the achievements. There have been written about the achievements that are done by the kings. The donations are there. Also, on the other hand, the donation that were being made by the men and women, and also about the exploit of the kings. Yes, about the exploit of the kings itself also it has been written on the inscription. So inscriptions are the writing on the hard surfaces. Now what are the hard surfaces? The stones, metal and pottery. Also, inscriptions are virtually permanent records. They are virtually permanent records because they carry dates. On the inscription, you will be finding dates itself, but on their own language. Most of them are in Prakrit texts or in Sanskrit text as well. Others are dated on the basis of paleography or styles of writing with a fair amount of precision. Now, some of the dates are being written according to their own precision, which means according to their paleography or styles of writing. Here, the earliest inscriptions were in Prakrit. Yes, the most ancient language, Prakrit. And most of the texts were written on the Prakrit language itself during that time. And also on the other hand, the names such as Ajasatu and Ashoka were known from the Prakrit texts and inscription. You see, if I talk about the Mauryan dynasty, most of the information of the Mauryan dynasty was being taken from the inscription itself. Also, on the other hand, the important names such as Ajasatu and Ashoka. Ashoka was the son of Bindisara, means Chandragupta Maurya is there, then comes the Bindisara, and then comes the Ashoka. Yes. So here, if I talk about the names of the rulers, Ajasatu and Ashoka were known from the Prakrit text itself. They were known from the Prakrit text itself, and those Prakrit texts were being written on the inscriptions. Here, these are the inscription. You see, these are the inscription, the different stones on which the different writings were being found. These inscriptions were being discovered in different parts of India. This is the two inscriptions that I am showing you on the picture itself. You see here the handwriting is different, and here the handwriting is different. Here you see, here mostly animal figures are there. Animal figures are there mostly on this inscription. And here you can see several texts are there. Several texts are there, and here the pictures of the animal you can find. So these are the types of inscription that I am showing you. I hope so you have understood my class, and if you want to know any of the courses regarding our institute, then you can contact us in this number 863839171. And thank you for watching my class. There we go.